welcome back. I've got the fascinating Jerry Marzinsky with me, a licensed psychotherapist with over 35 years and has seen a lot of stuff in his years.
Asking questions about their voices upset the voices. So some of them did get upset. Stuff like the 23rd Psalm and prayers. They didn't like that at all. These were entities that most of them called demons. But psychiatry would tell them this is the only treatment. You have to take these toxic drugs for the rest of your life. Now in Mexico, you see a psychiatrist once, and he prescribes a drug, and then you can go get it over the counter. You don't have to go see him again. Here in the U.S., they're milking it dry. Oh, we're going to give you this prescription. You come back in a month, and we'll see how it works. And if it doesn't work good, we'll switch you to some other drug. In the meantime, you're paying $100, $150 for the appointment. Then you got to go to the drugstore and pay, I think it's almost $800 a month for a month of these toxic drugs. And you can get them over the counter in Mexico for $35, the same drug made by the same company. And here they are, they got the American people convinced that this is the way it is, that you have to pay this, and they can't stand the side effects. The side effects are horrible, they're horrendous. It's all kinds of drugs. It's almost like they're trying to drug the entire population. And those drugs cause brain damage, they have horrible side effects. Oh, yeah. Virtually every negative thought that enters your head about yourself or somebody else is put there by them to get a negative emotional reaction. And then if you act on it, then that intensifies. So like pouring gasoline on the fire, and they feed off of that negative emotional energy that results. That's their food. It can get you in a war or in a fight. I mean, a war, the prison is a friggin' hog's trough for them. They feed on those guys constantly. That place is constantly in uproar and fear and paranoia, and it's a pit of negativity. And so they can't conceive of a disease that does not have a physical cause or a physical cure. It's outside of their box. Shamans have been curing this stuff for thousands of years. You look at the Bible, I mean, there's like 25 incidents where Jesus cast out these demons out of people and they returned to normal. So here's a Christian society that's ignoring what the Bible is telling them, just turning their back on it. And science is going, well, we're science, we're psychiatrists, we went to all this medical school, we know what's going on. They don't know crap. They don't know crap. All they know is how to drug people and make them sick, and their drugs increase the suicide rate of these patients. And they're telling everybody they need to be on them if they're hearing voices. There's a lot of people that don't need to be on them, and this interferes with their recovery. It's insane. This thought comes in their head to punch this guy or shoot this guy or kill this person, or, and it's something most people would never do. And it's like, I'm feeling guilty. I'm like, where did that come from? And I'd never do that. And then it's all this turmoil.
Which is the energy they feed on, right?
That's it. They got a good drink out of that one. So everybody's being hit. The difference between normal people, the so-called, and schizophrenics is the amount of intensity that they're being hit. Psychiatry isn't helping at all. They can smell negative emotional energy like a shark can smell blood. So they go after those people, and all they have to do is just trigger them a little bit. They can go into your mind and they can pull up every negative thought, experience you've ever had, and rub it in your face. I mean, I've had patients say they pulled up rotten things that the patient did 20 years ago that they've long forgotten about, and they pull it up and just put it in and throw it in their face. And generate that negative emotional energy. And then the person becomes depressed, their energy leaves, and you can actually test that. You can have somebody, hold out their arms straight out and say, think of the happiest you've ever been in your life. Get a very clear picture of it. Tell them not to let their arm down and push down, and that arm won't go down. Then you tell them, okay, get a very clear picture of the nastiest, ugliest, rottenest thing that has ever happened to you. And when they get it clear, do the same thing, and that arm will go right down. So your energy disappears with negative thoughts. They do not want people to know that they exist. They want you to think that all your thoughts are yours.
Yeah.
They're not you. Most people think they are their thoughts. They are not. These things want you to think that you are your thoughts. They will put these thoughts in your head to do these rotten things or things that will get you in trouble, create more emotional turmoil if you follow them. And they never ask where those thoughts come from. But before any behavior takes place, there has to be a substrate. There has to be a structure. There has to be a thought first. People don't just go off and do things without a thought providing that structure first. And it's never asked, where does that thought come from? And they can't conceive that it would come from somewhere outside themselves, but that's exactly what's happening. And there's a Christian mystic, Emanuel Swedenborg, 700 years ago, who lays all this out. He was one of the top scientists of his day. He discovered all kinds of things. He was a brilliant man. He stopped all his scientific endeavors and switched over to investigating spiritual matters and how the mind worked. He was given complete access to heaven and hell. And he wrote a book, one of his most famous ones, was called Heaven and Hell. And he would interview angels and demons, and those demons matched exactly what you see with these voices that the schizophrenics are here. It's the exact same thing. They're saying word for word.
The parasitic influence.
Well, you have to take control of your thoughts. If you don't, they will. So they love people that are just drifting through life and their minds aren't occupied in some productive endeavor. I mean, they will run in there and they will take over that unoccupied space, and then they'll start feeding you.
They will encourage bad behaviors as well. So you remove these things, and sometimes someone who's been drinking for all their life, or they've had smoking habits or whatever it might be, they're able to give up those things. And it's almost like you remove that little voice that's saying, have that beer, have that cigarette, have that. You remove that. It enables the person, the spirit of the person to make better decisions.
Well, you look at people who live with alcoholics, and they'll all tell you when that guy's drunk, he's not the same guy. It's a totally different person who acts very different and is usually pretty mean. And then you look at these guys who go into blackouts. I mean, I've talked to patients who they drove to another city and didn't even remember doing it. There's one guy who came into the ER and he had blood all over his bumper. He didn't know what he hit. The first thing they go after is the meds, because the meds are calming these people down, and that's the only reason they work. They don't work because of any chemical imbalance. They're major tranquilizers. They work because they calm these guys down, and the voices have to work much harder to upset them to get that negative emotional energy that they feed off of. So the voices don't want them taking this stuff. So the first thing they go after is the meds, being drained by these things. And that was consistent. When they attach themselves to someone, they then induce mental torment from boredom, which they increase in breathing continually, and thus make one impatient, all of which creates intense pain and induces such weakness of the body that one can scarcely raise oneself from bed. Hey, yeah, you want something to do? We'll give you something to do.
Interesting. Yeah, I never thought of it like that, through boredom. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's the last thing they want you to know, is that they are energetic parasites. It's absolutely critical. You need to remember that every negative thought that comes into your mind is put there by them. And Swedenborg says none of your thoughts are in. You are like a radio that tunes to the station. So if you're entertaining those negative thoughts, if you're acting on those negative thoughts, you're moving to the negative side of the dial. And then something called spiritual gravity takes over, and you'll start being pulled deeper into their frequency. Now, if you're doing the positive, the same thing happens. Until you break so far free of them, you're not being hit by them anymore. You know? So it's up to you. So man is the space between these two forces, and he's the one that chooses. The thoughts aren't yours, but you choose which ones you want to entertain and act upon.